was a rate thing, we don't have to do anything. Okay. Right. Anything else you want to add?
Yes, sir. If the board pleases, there is a matter I'd like to bring up. Doesn't have anything really to do with the rates or the public hearing, but as the board knows, I mean, Ladysmith Water has announced plans to sell its company or the assets of its company to a purchaser who intends to repair and use the treatment plant and use that plant to provide water for its customers. Up until recently, they have been connected really to the county system under an emergency agreement that was put into effect quite a number of years ago. We feel that the emergency condition under which the county supplied the water to that company, though, has now ended because of its plans, and the company and the county will need to sell water to the company only on a temporary basis until those repairs are made. So we would ask the board at this time to just declare that emergency ended. Okay. As a matter of formality, so it can be ended.
Which is connected to the water rates, because there'll be more water for other people or whatever. So we would obviously need a motion to that effect.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the water emergency in Lake Caroline is now over.
Is there a second? Second. Motion made by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Underwood, that we follow the county attorney's recommendation, declare the water emergency over in Lake Caroline, and begin their standard rates. Right.
Right. You'd just be selling them water on a temporary basis until they repair the plant, and as a bulk water purchase.
Sure. Questions, discussions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously, and we will take a 10-minute break instead of 5. Maybe we'll get really intense. We'll be right back. We will reconvene. We have completed 3, 4, and 5. We have text amendments. Mr. Fincham, you're going to do all 6 text amendments? Well, you're going to give us a real short overview, because I understand in the staff report you're recommending that we not do anything and leave it as it is.
That would be number 7.
Oh, okay. No, 7 is the sediment control.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Mr. Fincham.
Your public hearings for number 6 are 3 text amendments, TXT 13, 14, and 15, related to the property manager's residence. If you will remember, the board has discussed this issue extensively over several meetings. The property manager's residence, as proposed, would be by special exception in the RP district, subject to the 6 standards that are contained in your packet. If you remember the text, the property manager's residence related to large properties. There was concern about multiple units. The board added a provision that it could not be subdividable either under county or other regulations to limit the potential number of these types of structures. The Planning Commission did forward these amendments with a recommendation of approval to the board. These should not be confused with the farm tenant structures, which the board has already disposed of earlier this evening.
I got 6. It says 1 tenant structure. I'm on number 6. Okay. Any questions at this time for Mr. Fincham?
If you remember, this text amendment was driven by the Rose Hill property, which is the property on the National Register of Historic Places up off of the Route 17 corridor.
Okay, mine is wrong. Okay, no questions for Mr. Fincham? Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We will declare the public hearing to be open for text amendment 1323, text amendment 1423, and text amendment 1523 related to property manager's residence. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Questions now at this time from Mr. Fincham? Board members?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Fincham, you said there were 6 conditions, or 6 standards?
5.
Okay, because I heard 6, I counted 5.
If I said 6, I meant 5.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm just making sure that we got the same thing.
Yeah, see, this is my number 6 text. It's
Mr.
farm
Chairman.
structure.
Is a motion in order? Is a motion in order?
Give us 1 second, Mr.
You
Taylor.
got the consent agenda ones.
16 and 20 on consent.
Six text. 6 text, farm tenant structure.
Mine are right in the consent. We have a little confusion on the paper version versus the electronic version.
That was D. Are they switching? That says farm, that's the same file. 2 texts.
This is 13, that's number 16.
It's right in the packet.
Okay.
6 text says farm tenant too, is that the one you were just at?
6 was, that's where I was.
See, that's 13.
That's the same file.
Right, 13, right here.
What do you have, Reggie?
I think
He's got the problem too.
Your 6 is farm tenant structure?
Mine's farm tenant structure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and that was on the consent agenda. It's wrong on the electronic and good on the paper.
It's okay.
You got- Yeah, mine is.
It's okay. We can go to home. Let's see if that works. And go board agenda.
Probably wrong there too.
That's where I got it from.
That's right, too.
So if I click on this, they're all coming up together. I was wondering why I was doing farm tenant structure. So it was wrong on the website too.
Wait, they made the same.
Okay. All right, well, after all of these, we had one mistake. No big deal. Mr.
That's the
Seeley's
first
going to let me look over his shoulder and
Absolutely.
review. We're just saying,
These are the new conditions. This is what we had the most brief over.
which basically we're just saying that you can
Have a farm tenant structure.
have a farm tenant structure based on, I thought Mr. Fincham, I thought we were going to do farm tenant, I've got farm tenant structures on the brain. Property manager's residence, you just have to be able to be there. We took out the historical part,
That's correct.
and that was the only change we made.
You added the provision that if it
Right.
was non-subdividable
Right.
to the standard.
Because that was the issue on the actual application we had.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I recall where we were without having the agenda item. Mr. Underwood, are you okay? You sharing? Okay. All right, so Mr. Taylor, I think, that's the first time it's happened in 5 years,
File got renamed wrong.
so no big deal. Mr. Taylor, you were ready to,
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of text amendment 15, 2015, text amendment 14, 2015.
well, I'm sure, I would love to do that, but I'm sure Mr. Emerson's going to say one at a time. So,
Move the adoption of text amendment 13, 15, 2015 as presented.
Second.
motion made by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Taylor?
Move the adoption of text amendment 14, 2015 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Taylor, 2015, 2013.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We're now on agenda item number 7.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing tonight is an ordinance to amend the Code of Caroline County by repealing Chapter 45, Erosion Sediment Control, and replacing it with Chapter 45, Environmental Regulations. The purpose of this amendment is to recodify the existing erosion and sediment control regulations unchanged from their current form, and to add Article 2, which would be to establish the Virginia Stormwater Management Program pursuant to the requirements of the Code of Virginia. As the board is aware, the General Assembly has adopted legislation that would modify the stormwater management regulations and requirements for local governments. In the legislation that is currently awaiting the governor's signature, local governments such as Caroline County would be required to opt into the stormwater management program. Under the current guidelines or under the current time frame, the board is supposed to adopt the regulations by April 1st. Understanding the regulations that are awaiting the governor's signature, staff would recommend that the boards hold your public hearing tonight, but that you actually defer action until your April 8th meeting. The governor has until April 7th to sign the bill that is sitting on his desk. And if the bill is signed, then staff would recommend that the Board of Supervisors not opt in to the stormwater management program in its current form. There will be some regulations that we will have to adopt based upon that new legislation. But the management and administration of the stormwater program under this new legislation would be the responsibility of the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. Staff continues to think that there are a number of issues with those regulations that need to be fixed before the board consider opting into that program. So we would recommend that you hold a public hearing, defer action until your April 7th meeting.
All righty, thank you, Mr. Fincham. Questions for Mr. Fincham at this time? No questions? We will declare the public hearing to be open on the ordinance to amend the Code of Caroline by repealing Chapter 45 and replace it with Chapter 45, Environmental Management. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. As Mr. Fincham has made us aware, we've held a public hearing. We're going to wait and see what the governor does. So, Mr. Cully, if you would put this on our agenda for the 8th, which will be the day after. So we don't really need a motion. We're just delaying it for a little while longer. Okay, that takes care of agenda item number 7. We did agenda item number 8 previously. We did 3 out of 4 closed meetings. Mr. Cully, informational calendar items.
We have your 2 constituent meetings the next 2 nights. Mr. Taylor has one on the 7th. We meet again on the 8th. Fire and Rescue Spring School starts on the 12th, Saturday the 12th, and then Mr. Taylor has a community meeting on the 14th. I will be out of the office on the 15th through the 18th, 50th anniversary of the Mustang in Charlotte. And Mayberry Day is on the 19th.
He drives a Taurus, but he's going to the Mustang.
I have a couple. I'm throwing one down.
64 and a half. My aunt had one of those.
They always celebrated it in that week when they introduced it in New York.
Yeah, my aunt had one of those. She was hot as could be. Oh, she doesn't have any more. All right, any other informational calendar items? None?
No, sir, that would be it.
Okay, closing board comments, Mr. Taylor.
No, sir.
Mr. Black?
No, sir.
Mr. Underwood?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask Mrs. Hall if she would schedule a constituent meeting for me. And I'm looking at the 9th of April as being a potential. And then May the 12th, May 13th, I'm sorry, May the 12th or 14th. And I would like for you to check at the library at Ladysmith Village and Lake Caroline Lodge. Brian, I think you said you'd help me arrange one at Lake Caroline? Okay, good. So,
That was it? Mr. Sealy?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have one, Mr. Cully, if you could. I got a call today about the grounds maintenance award that we're making. Apparently, someone believes that they're piling the mulch too high on the trees and it's killing the trees. So, that was a comment from a citizen about the same company who I think is renewing the contract.
It's a new contract.
Okay, well, these new guys,
We haven't done anything yet, I don't think, but we'll certainly look into it.
apparently the older ones were, so if we can just look at that to make sure, I said I would make sure I mentioned it. That was it, okay. Our last order of business for the evening will be a personnel matter. We need to go into closed meeting on personnel exemption, section 2.2-3711A1 Code of Virginia, to discuss personnel matters identified as the annual performance review of the county administrator by the board. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Underwood. We will shortly go into closed meeting. And that concludes our public business, because there'll be no action afterwards. Can I give this to the reporter who wanted it? Ben? Can I give that to the reporter? So now you don't have to email.
I emailed it to Ben so I could get it.
Oh, okay. She just sent me an email asking for it. We will reconvene. Motion to come out of closed meeting, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we come out of closed meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Black. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. There is no action from the closed meeting since it was the county administrator's performance review.
Move for adjournment.
No other business. Mr. Taylor moves for adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Seeley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.